Sheepdogs may have emerged very early in the history of human-animal husbandry. The sculpture shown in the photo above is a sheepdog figurine from the Mesopotamian civilization, dating back 2,900 years. Welcome to subscribe to our channel. It is presumed to represent a sheepdog because the sculpture is marked with unique seals that link it to the desert nomadic tribes of that time. That said, early sheepdogs must have played a negligible role in herding. There are no surviving poems in their praise, nor any written records documenting how they performed their herding duties. Sheepdogs were not truly trained as specialized herders, nor did they become a pivotal part of flock management until the past few hundred years. During the Middle Ages, the opening of major trade routes in Europe led to a dramatic surge in demand for wool, which in turn fueled the rapid development of sheep farming in Britain and other European nations. As flocks grew in size, effectively managing sheep in open terrain became increasingly crucial, and that was when the true sheepdog came into being. It is an incredible feat that a single sheepdog, working with just one herder, can oversee a flock of hundreds of sheep. An intriguing question arises: why do sheep obey sheepdogs? Do they act out of fear or out of trust? Two distinct types of working herding dogs. Before we explore this question further, it is important to note a key fact. Herders typically train two different types of working dogs to assist with herding. One type is responsible for driving flocks to designated areas. These are the true sheepdogs. The other is tasked with protecting the flock from harm. These are guardian dogs. Yet most people fail to tell them apart, often lumping both types together under the umbrella term sheepdog. In truth, these two kinds of dogs are vastly different. Not only do they share an entirely different dynamic with the flock, but they are also often bred from completely distinct dog breeds. The sheepdogs that drive and maneuver flocks are the most fascinating and distinctive of the two, so they will be our primary focus here. Why do sheep obey sheepdogs? To answer the question we raised at the start, for sheep, obedience to sheepdogs stems more from fear than trust. Guardian dogs are usually raised alongside sheep from a young age, ensuring they do not harm the flock and even form an emotional bond with the sheep. By contrast, sheepdogs used for driving flocks are intentionally kept separate from the sheep. Their presence is meant to instill a sense of fear in the herd. As a result, sheepdogs only appear when the flock needs to be herded to a specific place. When off duty, they are either kept in enclosures or stay with the herder, and rarely interact with the sheep. Sheepdogs are able to drive entire flocks primarily because of an innate instinct in sheep known as the selfish herd effect. In simple terms, when a flock faces a threat, each individual sheep will try to minimize its own risk of being harmed. This prompts the sheep to huddle together, with every single one moving toward the center of the group. In fact, this behavior is not unique to sheep. It can also be observed in schools of fish and groups of primates. Getting the sheep to cluster together is exactly what herders need. And since sheepdogs are descended from gray wolves, sheep innately perceive them as a threat, making sheepdogs naturally adept at gathering flocks. All herders need to do is select breeds that easily startle sheep without actually injuring them. Then train these dogs to understand how to drive the flock to its intended destination. The Border Collie from the UK is widely regarded as one of the finest sheepdog breeds. Many people attribute their excellence to their high intelligence, believing this to be the main reason for their prowess as herders. In reality, intelligence is a secondary factor. Though Border Collies are indeed highly intelligent, their key strength lies in certain genetic traits. For instance, they will fix sheep with an intense, piercing stare, and they also crouch low to stalk the flock stealthily. These distinctive behaviors are inherited from their gray wolf ancestors' traits that have been lost in domesticated pet dogs, but preserved and amplified in Border Collies through centuries of specialized breeding. To sheep, these actions are unmistakable predatory behaviors, which easily make the sheep vigilant and trigger their selfish herd effect. That said, many sheepdogs develop a uniquely nuanced relationship with the flock through long-term coexistence, all thanks to proper training by their herders. For these dogs, the sheep's obedience is far more complex than simple fear alone. Take a simple example: sheep often give birth in the wild, and some sheepdogs will guide airways with their newborn lambs back to the homestead safely. If the sheep only felt fear toward sheepdogs, they would never allow them near. During the vulnerable birthing process, there is clearly a significant element of trust at play here. So far, We have been talking about sheepdogs that herd sheep. There is another type of ovine. However, goats are far more difficult for sheepdogs to drive and manage than sheep. When faced with danger, sheep tend to cluster together quickly, but goats will often scatter and flee in all directions, scrambling up and down terrain. Some goats may even resist actively, such as by ramming sheepdogs with their horns. In some regions, working dogs are also used to assist with managing goat flocks, but these are almost always guardian dogs. Unlike sheep, which have a strong herd mentality, goats are highly individualistic. This makes it far harder to form large goat flocks. Herders who raise goats therefore keep flocks that are much smaller in size than sheep flocks, meaning there is little need for sheepdogs to drive them. On the contrary, because goats are more unruly and prone to straying from the flock, they are more vulnerable to predator attacks, making guardian dogs far more essential for their protection. In many regions where goats face no threat from wild predators, herders do not raise any working dogs for flock management at all. Instead, they use a led goat system, as goats have a strong sense of social hierarchy. Welcome to subscribe to our channel.